Hi everyone, today I will be sharing with you something which I in favor of, which I love to play Liquid AIO. And I was talking to Asus marketer and she was telling me that, hey Cleo, check this out. This Liquid AIO is super duper quiet. So with this say, I'm going to take on this challenge and to share with you my experience with this Rog Strix LC3 360 Argb. And I'd like to thank Asus Singapore to have provided this unit for me to share with everyone. These are all the accessories in the package. You'll be provided with the instruction manual, a leaflet of stickers, 320mm fans which are not attached to the Liquid AIO radiator. You will need to use these 12 long screws which is provided for you to mount the fan to the radiator. 12 short screws and 12 washers. These are the screws, short ones. And these are the 12 washers, which is meant for you to mount the radiator to your case. Now, on the lower section, you're provided with brackets, and these are for AMD, these are for Intel. You'll be provided with 4 spacer, which is meant for AMD, be it AM4 or AM5. 4 standoffs, and the AMD bracket. For Intel, you are provided with the 115X or the 1200 standoffs. These are meant for the 1700 standoff. The backplate and the bracket, it's already mounted on the cooler itself. And you have 4 mounting board or retention board, which is meant to use on Intel or AMD. You have this splitter which is meant for your Argb, which comes from 1 speed up to 4. And this is meant to use on the fans. And another splitter, this is meant for the fan PWM control, which you have 1 4-pin PWM to 3, which is also meant for your fan. This Liquid AIO comes in 2 colors, which is in black, and the one I'm having is in white. I'll first start off with the radiator. As for the measurement, the length is at 394mm by 121mm, and the thickness is at 27mm. Now when I measure the fin stack at the 1 inch mark, which is here, this is 20 fins per inch. The whole structure is made out of aluminium, and on each side of the radiator is with a embedded logo that says ROG. Same goes to the other side. See, nicely done. As for the tube, these are nicely braided, as you can see, and it has a Velcro stripe to hold on to this tube. And the length of this tube is at 400mm. One end of the radiator, this is not swivelable, and on the butt, this is swivelable. Now, coming to the pump, for the measurement circumference of the pump, be it the top to the bottom and to the side, this is measuring 72 by 72. And for the thickness of the pump, this is at 61mm. Now, for the spec of the pump, it runs 800 all the way to 2800 plus minus 10% RPM. And one thing unique about this pump is that the top cap we can remove. See? Okay, let me just remove this. Reason for this, right, there is another version besides this where you have the LCD panel. This is only with the Argb, so it is catered for you not only to swivel the point as you mount the pump on various directions, so you can have a actual logo on the correct side. Besides this, right, if this is a LCD panel, you can just remove it, and at the base this is magnetic, so you can place this outside the case And why do I say so? Because you are provided with a very long cable, as you can see. So we can route this outside the case. And at this end, right, you're provided with a 9-pin USB connector to control the ARGB effect of the pump. And if it's of a LCD, it will control the LCD with the readings and such. Now, as for the pump itself, you have this 4-pin PWM connector. You are able to control the pump. As mentioned to you, the speed is 800, or you want to set it to run at that, right, you can do that. Or you can set it at full speed, 2800. If you feel it's very noisy, you can pump it down to 80%. So this is possible with this 4-pin connector. Now, another thing is that from my source, from Asus, they mentioned that they are making use of the Gen 7 Ace-Tech pump B2, and it's supposed to be very quiet. So I'm just going to illustrate to you how noisy it is at a later stage. Now, as for the base of this pump, in fact, this should be pre-paste. I have taken this unit off as a loan, so the pre-paste is being used by another reviewer. Anyway, when you purchase this pump, right, or should I say purchase this Liquid AIO, right, it comes with a pre-paste, so you don't have to apply thermal paste. Now, as mentioned, the cold plate itself, this is made out of copper. These are the radiator fans, and you have 3, and these fans are known as the Rog Strix AF12S Argb fans. The build quality is very sturdy, as you can see, it doesn't wobble. And when I swivel the fans, right, see, it doesn't wobble. And I like the attention on details of what they have done with the fans, as you can see. And there's labeling at one side over here, see, it shows the wind direction, nicely touched. And at each corner, right, you have this ROG, Strix, ROG, and Strix again. Now this is a ARGB fan, as mentioned, and it's of a 7-blader, and you have this circle, or should I say the ring on the blade, which will scoop tons of air. Now, besides this, right, on this end you have this crest here, a nice crest. On the other end, this is being covered because you're going to place it on the radiator itself. Now, as for the specs, these are rated at 12 volt DC, the current that's running, and it has an amperage of 0.35 ampere. So if you total up, right, it's 105 ampere, which one fan header is not an issue to run. So it's safe to say that you can daisy chain them and to run on a fan header on your motherboard. Now, besides this, right, the measurements is 120 by 120 with a thickness of 25mm. As for the speed, will be 800 to 2200 RPM plus minus 10%, and the static pressure is 3.92 mm H2O. And as for the airflow, it's at 70.38 CFM. For the noise, fantastically, at 36 decibel. Reason being, right, these are magnetic levitation fan. See, something different. And as far as I know, right, for magnetic levitation fans, it will operate very quietly. Each of these fans do have 4 anti-vibration rubber grommets on both sides. And to mount it on the radiator, make use of the long screws that is provided. Now, just a piece of advice, as each fans, right, they come with these cables, which is one for the ARGB and the other one for the PWM. And this is not daisy chainable. So it becomes like, it's very daunting to do the cable management. So I would advise you to decide which side of the cables that you want to be. For example, let's say this is meant to be the back of the case, which is like this. So imagine this is actually this is the case itself, whereby the hose is at the front. You have your front bezel, this is the top. So you want to hide the cables behind, which is near the motherboard. So do the arrangement first. So once you have done this, right, mounting the fans with the cable facing the direction that you wanted, now to daisy chain all these cables. And you're provided with a splitter. So do the connection first. I'll have this, the last one, starting off with the 4-pin PWM fan connector. So do this and plug, all neat and tidy. Now the reason to do this, right, you want to have a pleasant mounting of the Liquid AIO. So I'm assuming that if you just leave it this way, right, you have daisy chain, yes. Now the 4-pin PWM is connected to this splitter. Okay, I know it's actually in a mess. Next, you will need to daisy chain the Argb, which this is provided. So you just connect all this to the Argb. Right? Now, having to say this, right, after you have connected all this, right, you will see that there is a lot of cables that's dangling out. See? All these cables over here. So the advice that if you want to have a pleasant mounting of the Liquid AIO into your case, right, do your cable management first. See, you can actually tuck them nicely. Then you just cable tie them so that this will not be an obstacle when you mount to the case. And over at this end, right, probably you do some cable management too, so that it will just take out 2 cables, which this is very daunting. Now for mounting the fan, right, as mentioned to you with the long screws, right, you just need to mount them. Now when you're mounting the screws, right, don't over tighten one side. Make sure you have 4 balance so that your fan will, you know, bite to the radiator on a even pressure, so that air travel, right, that is going in from here through the radiator, right, will be even. That is to prevent turbulence. So make sure you do this, and you don't have to over tighten them. Just make sure that it's hand tight, and that's it. For Intel platform, it supports 115X, 1200 and the 1700 socket. Right now with me is the 1700 socket. Things that I need: the backplate, the standoff for the 1700. Now take note, there is a grooving on the standoff, and this is meant for 1700. Else, the other 4 sets of standoffs, right, these are meant for 115X and 1200. So don't get mixed up. I'll be using this, and of course you will need mounting bolts to clamp your block to your processor. Now first thing to do, prepare the backplate. As you can see, you can swivel in or out. Now if you to swivel this in, this is meant for 115X. So I'm using 1700. I should be pushing this 4 corner out. So once this is done, right, next thing to do, turn your motherboard to the back. Okay, let me just zoom in. On your motherboard itself, you have 4 screw holes. So align the back plate. As you can see, the thread is protruding upwards. This should be facing downwards. Align it to all the 4 holes. Now you can be either this direction or that direction, it doesn't matter because it's a square. And something to take note, I wish that Asus can do double-sided tape so that this whole back plate, right, will just tape in place. Then when I turn this over, right, this will not fall off. But for this incident, right, sad to say, I need to support it. So as mentioned, align to the 4 holes. Okay. Now for illustration purposes, take a look what happens if I have to not support this back plate and to turn over. See, it will just drop off. So make sure that when you're mounting this, okay, support the back plate together with the motherboard. Okay, support it, turn over. And when you turn over, right, do not let go of the other hand which is supporting the back plate. Use the standoffs, anchor to the back plate thread so that you will hold in place, or should I say, will not lose in place when you leave this down. Okay, just anchor it. You don't have to fully tighten it. Alright. Now speaking of which, right, when you're tightening this, right, both ends are of the same, as in like the length of the thread. So we can use either this side or this side, it doesn't matter. Now coming to this corner, right, this is the most tight corner. If you have fat fingers, you got to adjust a bit. Like me, I'm having fat fingers, so you take quite some time. Now everything is in, you can just put your motherboard down. See, it's in place, and your backplate, right, will not drop. See? So once this is in, right, you can fasten down the standoff. I would advise you that when you tighten, right, don't tighten it. Once you feel that it reaches the base, stop for all four corners. Okay, reason being, right, I always emphasize on even pressure and even level and such. So if let's say you do over tighten this and less tighten this, right, it will be very unbalanced. So with this say, right, all these four corners, right, the standoff have touched the base. Right now to tighten, just hand tight. See? And this is done. Next thing to do, apply alcohol on your processor. Take a wipe it clean, make sure it's dry without any stuff. Now for the cold plate itself, by right, this is a pre-paste, but if it's without a pre-paste, right, apply thermal paste. Make sure you do that. Alright, then you can mount the cold plate to the processor. So assuming you have applied thermal paste, make sure you apply this to here. But before you do so, right, I would advise you to remove this, okay, to have a better grip. Because you see, if you don't do that, right, if you hold this, right, see, it will just fall off. Then you don't have a proper gripping. Take this out. Next thing is that align the four holes of your cold plate here, 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 and here, or should I say the bracket, to the standoffs. So what I'll do right now, right, make sure you don't hold on the hose and place it, alright? Hold on the block firmly, then align. Okay, I have a line over here, so I'm going to do it over here. See, as I switch hands, right, I'm still holding on the block. So once you align, right, press it down, alright, wiggle a bit so that the thermal paste will spread between the cold plate and your processor. Still holding on to it because you wouldn't want to lift up. Now assuming that you lift up, right, as you press down, lift up, press down, lift down, right, press up, pull up, press down, pull up, press down, right, you will have air bubbles that will cause the bad thermal. So make sure that you hold on it. Okay, as mentioned, place this down, wiggle a bit, hold on it, then fasten the bolt. Now for the bolt, you don't have to over tighten it. You just screw until it stops. See, it stops on the bracket. Then you continue to do the rest, which best is do it diagonally so you have even pressure. See, as and when I want to feather the nuts with another hand, right, I'll just switch hand. See, always have your hands holding on to the block. Okay, having a bit of pressure, don't over push it, just a bit of pressure sitting on it so that there won't be any bubbling on between the IHS and the cold plate based on the thermal paste. So do it the same over here. Okay, done. Again to the top. Now to this corner, right, I hate it a lot based on the fact that this is very tight and I'm having fat fingers. Okay, done. Now you can use your screwdriver, right? I have not leave it up, I'm still holding on it. Do it alternately, probably one round, do it the same over here, one round and one round. Now some of you will do two rounds. Well, I personally do not like to do that. I like to do one round because I want an even pressure to press the cold plate to the IHS, so that will yield very good thermal results. Alright, so just continue on until you feel that the bolt doesn't screw in anymore. Okay, it stops. That is where you stop. That's where you know that it's having a even pressure. Okay, alright, I can't go any further, I stop. Alright, same here. See, I'm always very accurate on this as a knight. Okay, done. So right now the block is cramped to your IHS and having an even pressure. So that's why I say that, you know, it's best that you do it alternately and do it slowly. Okay, next thing to do is to plug all these cables over here. Starting off with the pump. Now as for the... Okay, let me just adjust this. As for the pump connector, right, make sure on the motherboard, it will be labeled on the motherboard or refer to your instruction menu where it says AIO underscore pump. Okay, or maybe W underscore pump, water pump. So make sure you connect this pump header to the AIO pump connector, the header. So I know this is actually for the water pump. I will just plug it over here. Okay, this is done. Then probably do your cable management and such. Next will be the block. Now for the block, just plug this to the USB header on the motherboard. Then again, probably do some cable management, tuck it behind and such, and put this over here. And depend on direction. Okay, if let's say you have the holes at the bottom, right, you can turn this according to the direction that you wanted. For this will be this direction because, you know, it's facing this way. Now next thing to do, which is to handle your radiator fans connector. As I showed you earlier, the daisy chain, so leaving only these two cables. One is for the RPM of the fans, which I will plug to the CPU underscore fan, which is labeled over here. Now this is CPU underscore op. Do not plug it over here, right? Make sure you plug it to the CPU underscore fan. This is the primary connection. So I'll just plug this. Once this is done, the last thing is your Argb connector. On the header itself, at the top there are two. You can choose either one, just plug it in. But when you want to control the Argb, right, make sure that you point the application to that header. So just plug this in and it's done. For AMD platform, it supports AM4 and AM5. Now first thing you need to do is to prepare the bracket on the cold plate. So first thing, as mentioned, take this out, so later when you mount the block, it will be easier. Now as for the cold plate, or should I say the bracket, to remove the Intel bracket, you have to push down. Okay, see, push down, turn, and you take it out. Now depending on the direction, as this is the direction, so you want the holes to be here, so align it over here. Okay, the grooving, then you can turn. Okay, this is, you see, this is actually a wrong direction. So what you need to do is just to press it down again, take it out. So just switch, and this will be the correct direction. Okay, once this is done, put this one side. Next thing is to remove off the original bracket from the motherboard, which you will need screws to unscrew this. Okay, leave this one side. The next is to put the spacer and to mount the standoffs. Okay, this is a spacer and this is a standoff. Now when mounting the spacer, right, do take note, there's one side with the grooving, or should I say the lines, the other side without. If we are using AM4, make sure these lines are facing downwards. Okay, that's like, you see, it's downwards. If you are using AM5, which right now I am using, all this line must be facing upwards. So it'll be like this. Okay, the lines is at the top. So place this 4 spacer down. Next will be mounting the standoffs. Now as you notice, right, the standoff, there's one side which is longer, the other side which is shorter and narrower. The narrower should be at the top, and this, the long part, will be screwed on to here. So do this to all the 4 section. Okay, it might drop off. So take your time. Again, when I mount this, right, I will just stop where it touches the tip, or should I say the base, so that to have a even pressure, I'll make sure that all will be hand tight nicely. So when you sit onto the base, you can stop. Then right now, hand tight. Okay, done. Next thing, use alcohol, wipe the processor, then apply thermal paste if there are no thermal paste over here. In fact, there's a pre-paste. Once that's done, right, anchor this 4 point, 1, 2, 3, and 4 to the 4 holes. Now when I'm aligning it, right, I always hold on the block. I won't hold on the holes. A lot of reviewers I see, right, they will hold the holes and then just put it this way. This, you will ruin the equal pressure of the cold plate to the processor, because there are thermal paste and you wouldn't want bubbling in between the cold plate and the processor. So make sure you hold it properly. As in, like, hold the, okay, let me just adjust this. Hold the whole block into line to the hole, and when you're aligning it, right, do not press your block down. You're just aligning it. See, I'm just aligning it. The cold plate is still floating in between the processor and the thermal paste. Once you have aligned properly, right, press it down, wiggle a bit. Okay, reason for the wiggle, right, is to spread your thermal paste evenly between the cold plate and the processor. Then followed by still holding on to it. Okay, not applying too much pressure, just holding on to it, so that you don't let this cold plate goes up. If it goes up and comes down and such, right, there will be loss of air bubbling, which we will want to avoid. So right now you can just mount the mounting board. Okay, again, I won't mount all the way. Once the mounting board touches the plate, I will stop. I'll do the rest, which I often do diagonally, so that to have even pressure. See, it stops. And if you have not noticed, right, when I fever to the other side, and if I want to use this finger to, this hand to mount the board, right, I'll just switch. See, always have your hand holding on to the plate, to the block. As I mentioned, you want to avoid air bubbling. Done. And right now, the last piece, which is here. Once this is done, okay, still holding on to it. Okay, should not be leaving it, but right now I know that it's actually cramped into it, so I can just let go. But most of the time, it will be best that you hold on it. Then do it alternately. Screw one round, one round, one round, and one round. Okay, you can choose to do 2 round, 2 round, 2 round, 2 round, but I prefer to do it 1 round, because I want total even pressure to, between the cold plate to the processor. So just continue what I have stopped over here, and always do it diagonally. Okay, and not this side and then followed by the other side. If you do going to do it one side and followed by the next side, right, your cold plate, imagine that your cold plate is over here, it will be like this, right? One pressure point to a side, which is no good. That will give you bad thermal. You want the cold plate to be flat to your processor. And just continue on. Okay, I can't go any further. Yep, same thing. Okay. Alright. Now I have the even pressure. Next step, plug the pump header. And looking at the connection point over here, okay, I should remove this. One thing good about Asus boards, they have this protection on the fan headers, which I really enjoy, based on the fact that you wouldn't want them to, you know, these are the main connection points whereby you will be protected, because sometimes the motherboard itself, right, it will be left in the warehouse for long, and that might oxidize the pinouts. Alright, so I know that there are three over here. This is CPU fan 1, and this is CPU op, and this is AIO pump. Make sure you connect the pump header connector to the pump, as this is designated to pump. Okay, next, the pump block, connect the USB connector to your USB 2.0 header. Okay, done. Then do your cable management properly, then cap your block to the pump. Now, as I mentioned on Intel, you missed that, right? You can swivel this. So assuming that your hose is actually at the bottom, right, you can, you know, turn to the direction of the logo that you wanted. It's flexible. Now the final set will be on the radiator PWM connector and the ARGB connector. I'll start off with the PWM connector, where I know that, as mentioned over here, right, this is CPU underscore fan, and this is CPU underscore op. Do not plug it to your CPU underscore op, because the primary is on the CPU underscore fan. This is the master control, where you can control the RPM on UEFI or BIOS. So plug this in. Once this is done, next thing to do is to connect the 3-pin 5V ARGB on the board. There are two over here, you can choose either. But make sure when you want to control the ARGB effect, right, on the Armoury Crate or the ARGB Aura Sync, make sure you point the header to where you connect. Then you'll be able to control the ARGB effect. And that's done. Now to show you the ARGB effect on the pump and on the fans. Now, as mentioned to you, the cap on the pump block, you can remove this. As right now the orientation is this way. You can remove this and turn, and you'll lock in place, or you can just simply turn at the direction that you wanted. See, it's pretty flexible. So right now I'm just going to leave it this way. Now to control the pump and the ARGB effect, simply on my right, this is the Armoury Crate program. Now before you can do anything, just make sure that hit down to settings, right? When you install Armoury Crate, hit down to settings and go to update center, and you download, or should I say update, all that is necessary, especially this. Okay, once you've done that, right, just head down to device to double check if it's loaded. Now it happened that my rear IO of this motherboard is also controlled by Armoury Crate. So with this say, right, you can just head down to the Aura Sync. Okay, showing you the two devices, you can just select on Aura Effect, and you can start to play with the ARGB, and all this will synchronize. See, I right now set it to static, so you can set to green, maybe set to blue and such. And I find out that one neat feature about this, in fact, is the thermal. Meaning to say, you can detect upon the temperature. Okay, as you can see, the temperature over here. So let's say I'm going to run Cinebench right now. Take a look at the color of the ARGB on both the pump and the fans, and also my rear. So right now I'm going to run, see, it changes. So when it reaches to a certain degree, right, it will change color. This will tell you that the temperature by sight. Okay, this is one point. The another point is that, now you might be saying, Cleo, I wanted to control individually. You can, not an issue. Okay, by right, if you didn't trigger the Windows Dynamic, right, you will have three sections over here, whereby it says the motherboard ARGB, the board itself, and the okay, this is kind of irritating. Let me just switch it back to rainbow. Okay, as mentioned, there are three sections over here: the palm, the motherboard, and the ARGB on the fans. It will show over here. But right now, I've triggered something which is known as the Windows Dynamic Lighting. And what that is, well, simply say, just do a right click. Okay, and click on Personalize. And scroll down till you see this Dynamic Lightings. When you click on this, right, you will have this. So this is actually enabled. But in order to let it control the certain functions, right? Okay, the palm itself, you can't use this Windows Dynamic, but for the rear and the fans, you can. So just going to show you. So down here, it will show you Armory Crate. Right now, master control is Armory Crate. Else, if you want to use Windows, you just pull this up. See? The palm, the rear, and the fan, right? In fact, the rear and the fan ARGB is different from the palm, and you can set the effect, which right now I'm just going to show you. See, I can set blue, or else this is still rainbow, or I can set this to pink or such, or you can even declare colors if you want to. Okay, not going to do that. So this is actually how you toggle the ARGB effects. Now to let you have a listen on the palm and together with the fans. First of all, the palm itself is running on full speed. As you can see on my left, the AIO palm is on full speed RPM. Now this is my microphone. I'm going to do a sound test. I'm just going to place the microphone near the palm and I'll let it run. And this is how it sounds like when it's at full speed. Next, I'll test the palm together with the fans and I'll place it over here. Now this is at idle, and I'm going to run at load on Cinebench, and you can see that the fans are ramping up, and this is how it sounds like. That's how the load is like together with the pump and the fan. Now, this is at idle again. I'm just going to run Cinebench again to ramp up the fans. Now take note, the pump is at full speed, alright? So this is how it sounds like when it's at load. So there you have it, the load and the idle of how it sounds like. And do take note that the microphone is very near the radiator fans, and the pump is about half a feet off from the pump and 1 feet away from the radiator. And what I can tell you is that when I'm sitting right in front of the setup, right, I'm about 1 meter away. Yes, I can hear the fan, but it's not a sharp pitch, it's just a low hum. So if this were to place inside the case, right, I wouldn't hear a single thing at all, even at load. Now I'm going to do the thermal test, and do note that my room temperature over here is 29.4 degrees Celsius, and it happened that today is a rainy day, so it's slightly cooler. As how this liquid cooler react on a high-end processor, you can pause this and have a look at the system spec. Things to take note that there are two components over here that will be generating tons of heat, which is the processor, the 9950X, and the Gen 5 M.2. Now I've done a offset on the vCore, which is minus 0.05 volt, and on the RAMs itself I've locked down the SoC voltage to 1.16. And as mentioned to you, right, showing you that my room temperature is 29 degrees Celsius or 29.4 degrees Celsius and around 30 degrees Celsius, around this range, based on the fact that today is a rainy day. And most of the time, for those of you who actually watch most of my content, right, my room temperature is always hovering around 30 to 31 degrees Celsius, which is pretty hot. And for me to set all this offset and such, inclusive of the PVO2 limits, the curve optimizer, and the curve shaper, right? Normally, I would just let my processor run at a base clock of 5 gig to 5.1 gig. And of course, it will boost according to the specs of this processor. So as I run, right, as you can see, for the first few minutes, there are nothing much spectacular, but I noticed that the CPU shoot up to 87 to 88 degrees Celsius for the first few minutes. Let me take you to the last 3 minutes. This is the 9 minutes. So the last 3 minutes as I run, take a look at the temperature, 91 to 92 degrees Celsius. So it's hovering around there. And this shows everything, whereby the chart over here, right, as you can see, or should I say the graph, this is based on the core clock. It is consistent, yes, but there are minor jagged lines if you were to take a look, as in like distorted graph. Reason being, right, the base clock is hovering around 4.9 to 5 gig. So this is what the cooler can do. And looking at the rest of the temperature, like my motherboard, the VRM, or should I say the MOSFET, the chipset, the RAMs, and especially the Gen 5 drive, it's all good. It's just only the CPU temperature. My take about this liquid cooler known as the Rog Strix LC3 360 Argb. First of all, the quality is good. As I show you, the fan structure is very rigid, it doesn't flex. And the pump block itself, as this is detachable, as you can see all the details that they have done, nicely done, it feels premium. And do note that this Liquid AIO does come with a LCD version, which is another version. If you purchase that, right, that would be great. As mentioned to you, this is detachable, and they have provided a very long cable, so we can route this out of the case and to place it outside the case. And best part is that at the base of this block, where the effect is magnetic, so you can place, outside the case. And to show the display, let's say this is an LCD panel, right, it will show all the temperature and such. And also, bonus to it, in the event, okay, after 5 years or 6 years, your liquid cooler is damaged, you still can reuse this block, which is good, thoughtful. Now, besides this, right, the color of the ARGB effect is very vibrant, and the diffusion is nicely done. And best part of this cooler, it runs very quiet. I've shown you, or should I say, I'll let you listen to the noise of the pump, and even at load, 100% load, running semi-bench, the fans itself, right, is so quiet. Do be mindful that I place the microphone over here, which is 1 feet away from the fan and about half feet away from the pump block, and it's very quiet. You just hum. So imagine if you place this inside the case, right, no problem, you won't be hearing all the noise and such. Now, things I dislike about this Liquid AIO, first of all, the connection point of the fans and the ARGB, the PWM cable and the ARGB cable, those are not daisy chainable. So there's additional, splitter like the PWM and the ARGB, which is provided, that add additional length, and it's gonna be a cable mess. Or should I say, when you do cable management, right, it's gonna be a hassle. So this is one point. Another point is that where I show you the thermal results on the 9950X, right, yes, it can still run at a stable consistency of 5.9 gig or 5 gig, not an issue. But I would say that if you really want to make use of this liquid cooler, right, make it on a lower tier, or should I say mid tier. 9800X3D, not an issue. 9700X or 9600X, not an issue too. So those are the processor that this liquid cooler, right, would definitely be able to cool them down. Now, if you are using a 9950X, based on the fact that the aesthetic is nice, please be mindful. There are restrictions that you have to do on the PVO settings and such. And also another point is that do not place this liquid cooler with a high-end processor in an ITX case, because that will restrict the airflow, and that will even worsen the condition on the temperature, be it your motherboard, the rest of the component, or your processor. So do be mindful. With this said, I'd like to thank Asus Singapore to have provided this unit for me to share with everyone. And if you guys are new to my channel, welcome to my channel. If you like my content, do remember to subscribe and to click on the notification bell button. And do click on the like button if you like this content. With this said, take care, goodbye, see ya.